It's Friday, folks, so it's more development, and tonight we're going to carry on with the graphs. We've got some stuff working. We can set our own time limits, we can set our own scale, and all sorts of stuff. So, without further ado, I'm going to have a drink, and then we'll get on. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a structure. Our structure is going to be struct chart mode. Okay. And our struct chart mode is going to have mode, which is going to be chart mode. Then we are going to have a time period, and that's time period. And we're going to have X range min, which is going to be an integer probably, and we're going to need a few variables here, so we're going to have X range max. We're going to have another 2, and it's going to be Y. Actually, we're not going to be doing those 2. So I think that's all we need for now. Maybe. So we'll save that. And we're going to create now a data table. Okay, and it's going to be chart modes. Chart mode. Okay, that. And it's going to be called DT underscore chart modes. Right. And we're going to close that. We're going to open this. And we're going to add our 5. Okay. So mode, real time seconds, minimum, and the maximum time is 120. Okay. Then we're going to have another one, and it's going to be mins. It's going to be minutes. It's going to be 0 and 30. And then we're going to have our 6 hours. It's going to be hours. And it's going to be 0 and 6. Then we're going to have our 1 day. That's going to be days. That's going to be 0 and 7, I suppose, for a week. Okay. And then all time, it's going to be days, minimum, and let's say 365 for a laugh. Right, so they can get changed as we need to change them, but for the moment that's going to do. Okay. So if we now go to our UI and go to stats and open stats, then we can actually go to the buttons, right? So unclicked, we're basically going to say mode. We're going to set the mode to real time. Okay. And then it's time minute. Then we do the same here. We set it to 30 minutes. Okay. So that was time minute, time second, time hour. Right, so we're doing that. Tab that. Okay. And that's not 30 minutes, that's going to be 6 hours. Then we're going to duplicate that. Okay, and we're going to duplicate it again. And the last one we did was hour. So the next one we're going to do, why do I keep dragging that in? Right, so that's going to be day. And then this is going to be all time. So we can drag that down to there. We can select 1 day. We can select all time. We can bring these in. Okay. And then what we shall do is, if we go into our thing here, we can say real time. Then 30 mins. Then 6 hours. one day. All we're doing here is copying it but taking out the spaces so that we can actually use it to actually read off the data table. And this is all time. Okay. And so if we now go into here, mode, we can add a variable and we can say chart setup. Okay, and that's going to be a struct chart mode. No, that's not what that's going to be. It's going to be maybe chart mode. Yeah, it's chart mode. Okay, so you are chart mode. Okay, I can live with that. Chart mode. Should actually probably be called chart setup, but anyway. Right. So what we're going to do in here is we're going to do a function and we're going to do set chart options, call it that, and it's going to have an input which is going to be mode and it's chart chart mode. Chart mode. Okay. And then we're going to switch. Do we need to switch? I don't believe we do. Right, all we do is we say get data row. Okay, and we do our to string. Then we replace. We hit the space. Then this goes in here. Okay. Right, so that goes to there. I'll do. Right, and this is going to be DT chart modes. We do that. And then we set this. And that's not the right thing. This is struct chart setup. Right, I'm going to rename this. Right. So we're going to rename this to something that's a bit different. Setup. Okay, so now that that's set up, we can drag this in, not like that. I can set it, and it's going to be that. Okay, so that's going to give us all of our values. So now that when they click on a button, it's going to update all the values, so that when we go in to actually draw the chart, if there is a chart, then we can just draw it. We know all the ranges and stuff, so, and the time periods. Okay, so that's the theory behind that. So we can go back to here. Okay, and we can basically put these a bit closer to each other, right, because these are fairly obvious what they are and what they do. What do I call it? Should I call it set chart options? Cool. Okay. So we just drag this into here. We grab that. Then we just basically join all these up. Okay. That'll be us. Right. Perfect. Right. So now we know what mode we are in. Just grabbing a drink there, guys. And we can go back into here. Right. We now know what chart mode we're in. So we can get chart setup. Okay. Now this is always going to be the same, but this is actually going to be different. And we don't actually need to do a switch here, because our mode is actually already set up, right? So this is going to make things a bit simpler, of course. We can just go straight to here. We can drag off here. We can break it, right? And our X minimum is going to go there. Our X maximum is going to be there. Now the question is, have I got these the right way around? Right, so let's just check on that. So the max is 0, okay? Right, so these are wrong. So the max is 0, and that is minus 120. Okay. So that's going to be minus 30 and 0. This one is going to be 6 and 0. This one is going to be 7 and 0. And this is going to be 3, 6, 5 and 0. Okay. So when we come in here, we want the minimum and the maximum in here. And then we hide unconnected. Then we can drag this over a bit. We can drag this to here. And then we can basically drag this over here. Okay. So that's much better. And now we do actually care how we're going to do this. Right? So in the first instance, we'll test it out to make sure everything's still working okay. And we should be able to break it by hitting the correct button here. Okay. So we can do a few L's there, and then we can do a G. And it would appear that has crashed. Well, isn't that awesome? Right, so we absolutely know that these graphs can be very, very pernickety about scales. So we'll load this back up again. And it's very quiet tonight. I suppose Friday night, everybody out having a good time. Quite rightly so. Enjoying the start of the weekend. So it is usually quite quiet, but we're just going to use the time to get dug in here. Of course, we've not set it up. Right, when we do the begin play on the actual graph, we need to make sure that we know well, we set it to the default and then set the right, trust me on this, I know what to do here. Okay. Right. So we can open these up. Okay. And if we go into our graph, then basically when we start, it's going to loop, right? We're going to drag this down, then we're going to drag these up, and then we're going to start tidying this up a bit because it's a blooming mess. Okay, so on completion, what we want to do is we want a custom event here. Custom, okay, wait a minute. Custom event, default settings. Okay, and we'll just plug it in there, and then right, we'll just stick it in here. We'll stick it in before the loop. Okay, makes sense. So we shall see default settings, and that can just go straight into there, and that'll get the job done. Okay, I think that's basically why it errored the last time, because we had basically put our time setting scales at nothing. They weren't set at all. Okay, so what we should actually do is do a save all on that. And play, and we shall check it out from here. Okay. Hey Jamie, how you doing, mate? No worries. It's a quiet night. Friday night is one of those kind of quiet nights. But we're just going to use it to hopefully break the back, or at least get a good bit done of our graphs. And there we go. So if you were, I don't know, were you here earlier, Jamie? I don't know. But either way, we've now got our graph drawing the correct scale, right? And sticking within the correct values. And also we can actually hit buttons. And it's going to do different things with the scale. Okay? So, if for example we hit the minute button, you'll notice that we're now at -2 -4, -6, blah blah blah. You know, this one stays the same, and if we do hours, right, it's going to go 0 to 6, and if it's a day, it's going to go 0 to 7 for a week, and all time it's going to go 0 to 365 for a year. Okay, if we click back on our original one, you'll notice that we've now got our nice graph. So we're gradually making adjustments, and this is fine. We're not worried about this. Okay. We're going to get a different set of data each time. So this refresh series is actually, this switch on is going to be the thing that changes. Okay, so in here, actually no, it's not. We're going to have to write another function that's going to react to different sets of data. Okay, so but what we're doing is we're taking our data, and once that data is more than 2 minutes old, we are basically changing it to be measured in minutes. Okay, because it's no longer ever going to show up again on our on our seconds, right, in our real-time graph, right? Once data is older than 2 minutes old, it's no longer applicable to our live data. So therefore we can consolidate it into a new time, which is basically minutes, right? So when we save the real-time data, we save it as with a timestamp of seconds. Once it's past its date for to be counted in real time, then it gets changed to minutes, right? And then the data becomes eligible for the next graph, right? So that's gradually what we're doing. So if we go back to our component, now this is our data here, okay? But what we actually want to do here is we want to break this up, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to return relevant chart data, okay? And here we don't need this current chart mode. We should see that there's no references to this, yeah, because we actually get it from here. Okay, so we basically say mode, then we split it, we do a switch on the mode, right? Now, depending on how we want to do this, we could actually do another function inside that, like call this and then call a function, and then return the array. We might in fact do that. So what we'll do is we'll say return real time. Return real time data. Then return minute data. Then return hour data. Now these are just all going to return an array. So that's real time, minute, hour, then return day data, and then we're going to say return all data. We'll just call it year data, right? Tier data, yeah, that's a Freudian slip there, eh? Tier data. Right, so all of these are going to return an array of the data from here, right? So it's all going to be an array of data points, okay? And it's going to be basically a subcategory of the data points, because we're going to make up the array from the data points. Okay, so we'll basically be drilling in and getting the correct data. So from here, we're going to say mode, and then we are going to say return relevant chart data. So we don't actually need the mode because we're getting the mode here. Okay. And this is going to have an output, and that output is going to be chart data. Okay, and it's going to be of the type struct data point. Okay, so it's going to be struct data point. Okay, and then we're going to return the real-time data. Okay. And we're probably going to have a temp chart data, which is going to be our temporary place to store this, and that is going to be an array, and this is going to be an array, and then this is going to go in here, and in fact what we could do is we could clear this here, right? So we could clear that here, and then what we'll do, how are you tonight, Jamie? How's it going for yourself? Nothing planned for the weekend, or are you just having a quiet night tonight and going out tomorrow, or what are you? So that's real time minute. Okay. Hour. Day. Then year. Okay. So that's looking good so far. Then these are all just going to go into here. And that'll do us. Drag this down a bit. Keep it kind of straight-ish. Yeah, that'll do. Right. And then if we go back to our event graph, this is basically we can copy this part, the one you'll see it in a minute once I start this again. Right, so we're going to be bringing back our data, and that's all going to be fine. But we shall copy that, right? And that is going to go in our return real-time data. Okay. And if that, what we're going to do here is we're going to get temp chart data and we're going to add. Okay. So we're doing for each data point, we're splitting it up into the seconds, etc. And if these things are true, then we add it to temp. How are you doing yourself, Dante? You want to see your launcher, do you? Right, let's have a look at your launcher then. And it's down here. Pretty cool, huh? I've still got some things I'm going to set up like positions where it can launch from, right? So it'll be not always coming out of one. The plan is to like have it coming out of a random one, and then possibly launching multiple rockets instead of just the one, right? It just depends, but you get the general idea. It looks pretty decent. And then obviously it's going to turn around to face any enemies, right? Which isn't going to be too hard to do. But yeah. So it works. I left it in for you. Right, so what's this doing here? Update graph. Yeah, that's garbage. Yeah, as I said, it does for what... It's a nice little placeholder for now. It's obviously not finished. It needs a bit of work, but it's good for now. So I'm not unhappy with it. So we're going to be doing this, deleting that, and then we can take out all of that, and we can just basically add this straight to the thingy-me-bob. Oh, wait a minute. Right, okay, there is one thing we need to do here. Right. So we need to get product and then to string, then replace it. I should really write this into the blueprint helper. And to, well, we just need to actually just plug that straight in, right? And our quantity, well, we've got to make our point, make a 2D vector, right? And then our X and Y are going to be, so X is the time, and we might need to do some calculations with that. Okay. Yeah, we're going to have to do a little bit of jiggery pokery with that, I think. Actually, we don't, because we can make this whatever we want. So we can do our pluses and minuses and whatever in here in our return real-time data, right? See where it does this? Well, we can pass that in. So we're obviously going to have to add this, right? So we're going to make struct data points here. So let's do that in a minute, because I'm going to grab a quick cigarette. I shall be right back. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, that will help me a lot. And check the description for my Discord and Patreon and previous Steam game. I shall be back in a minute. Don't go anywhere. Alrighty guys, we're back. And I'm feeling quite confident about this. I wasn't earlier on, but we're beginning to feel a bit more confident with what I'm doing here. Okay. And so this quantity is going in here. Okay. And this time is going in here. Okay, so we can delete these two. And we don't do this. Right, because we still need to output the product. And the time period doesn't actually matter, but in this case it's going to be seconds anyway. Right? And that's going to give us our temp chart, okay? And that's going to be for our seconds. So we'll dismiss that for now. And we can basically take a copy of this. Now we're going to be changing this one quite a lot, right? But it gives us a basis to work off, okay? So for the minute one, right, we're going to be doing some weird stuff, okay? So the first thing we're going to be doing is getting the seconds, right? Because that's the real-time data. And then once we've got that, we've got to put that together into, we've got to do an overall, right? And then we've got to add the other ones, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the seconds, right? Now we don't need to do any of this, or do we? No, we don't. Right? We don't need to do any of that. Right? And what we'll do is we'll move this down. We're going to get the seconds. Right? And the first time we do this, right, so we are going to have to break it, right? But in the first instance, we're only bothered about this, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to do that, then do that, then we're going to do that, and probably we're going to do that. Okay, and we're going to do this because in the first instance we aren't adding anything until this is complete. Okay. So I'm thinking of the logic for this. Now, if the time is less than 65, or let's say 61, right? Right, this is my thinking, guys. If the time is less than 61, it is in the first minute. Okay? So, with that being the case, right? Now, if that is the case, we need to branch. And we basically need to do this for every single product. This is going to be fun. Right, okay. Okay, we just go carry on. Okay. Fundamentally, we just carry on and we do the logic and get it done, right? Right, so what I'm thinking here is we could do this, can we do this with a break? Right, because the first time we hit something that isn't seconds, then we can break out of it, right? Which means that we're not going to check every other value because we don't really care about it at that point. Okay? So what we're going to do, we can test this out, right? That's all we can do here. For each loop, I just did the same damn thing again. I forgot to do the break. For each with break, right? So we'll delete that. Okay. And the first time this thing hits false, we get the hell out of there. Right? I think that's the way it's going to have to be. Now, we're either going to do this or we're going to end up taking or we're going to have to do this or we're going to have to do it in reverse, okay? But we'll find out. So if it's less than 61, it should be one of the first entries. Now, I don't actually, you know what? I don't think it matters if what order we put these in, right? Because it's going to be one set of data for all of them, right? So basically what we need to do is get data table row names, okay, and it's going to be DT items, and then for each actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this temp items, and struct items, okay, and it's going to be an array, and we're actually going to do that first because we're only going to do it once, okay? It doesn't make sense to do it lots of times. So we can set up our temporary array here, right? And we're just going to go in here, we're going to get this, then we're going to add and we didn't want to do that. Okay, so where were we? In here. So basically what we do is table row, right? So we have our temporary items, and if a row is found, we bash on, and this is DT items. We could actually do this when we set this up, when we set up the component count, which would kind of make a bit of sense, but there we go. So we carry on regardless. In the fine words of the beautiful South. Okay, so we just plug that in there, And to optimize this, what I'm going, well, I mean, this actually doesn't matter so much because it's only going to happen when they hit a button. Okay. And we're going to pull this down here a bit. We're going to move this over here a bit. Then that's going to go in there. And this is where it's going to get a bit sticky. Once I've done this once, we'll be fine, right? Because the procedure to do this is going to be the same, except for the fact that we're going to be using like minutes and hours and days rather than seconds, but fundamentally it is going to be kind of the same. Okay, so what we've got to do here is make up and consolidate all the current data points into a total of all the data points that we've got, right? And to do that, we're going to have another temporary. So we're going to have I'll call it count array, and it's going to be data points. Okay, so basically when we come in here, we're going to reset it, get, and then clear, and that's going to go in here. Okay, and then we're probably going to have to write another function for this. So we're going to be coming in here, and we're going to say exists in count array. Okay, and we are going to be passing in a product. Okay, so our input is going to be product, and it's going to be an E item. Okay, and we can actually copy this from somewhere else if we want. That's going to go in here, so we can save that. Right, so where else do I do this, and what else was I working on a short time ago? Right, it's in the counter here somewhere. Product exists in array. It's here. We can just copy this. So we can copy that. and we can have a look at this. Right, and then we can check we have a temporary local variable. Temp exists. Okay, we're not going to set the index, so all we need is temp exists. So we add variable temp exists, and it's going to be a bool, and it's going to be a singular value, right? And now we can paste this in, and somebody's bashing about outside, which is awesome, obviously. And this product is not going to be an array, and we are not going to have that output. Okay, so this can go in here, and we can just chop and change this. To what we need. Okay, so this is actually going to be count array, and these are going to go and that is going to go in there. Okay, gonna add so we delete that. We're gonna have to pass the whole thing in. Or are we? No, we're not, but right, let's have a look at this, right? Right, that can go. And we're going to be pulling this across. Now, I think we actually do a return on this, right? But we don't. Right, okay. So if it exists, right, hang on a second. If it exists, we pass it back, right? And if it does exist, we add to the current one. And if it doesn't exist, we add a new one. Okay? So, in actual fact, we actually probably do need that index. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that index back in. So we'll call it exist index. Okay. And it's going to be an integer. And we are going to do outputs. Right, so we're going to have already exists. And that's a boolean. And we'll just call that index. And that's an integer. So this we're going to set again, and it's going to go in here, right? Because what we need here is we need to know the index, right, that we need to add to, okay? Right, and this is going to give us the index here, because this is the one that's going to fire the fact that it actually exists already, okay? So that is the logic behind this. And now we should have our return node right, and it's going to be temp exists and exist index. Okay, and if it already exists, we're going to add the values to this index, and if it doesn't exist, we're just going to create a new one, and that'll be done. Okay, and it's not going to be on product count, it's going to be on count array. And this is probably going to not like this, so I'm just going to do that because it's going to probably hate me for trying to do that. I'm not even going to try. Right, so that is going to go to there, and we're actually going to have to change all of that a bit. That's going to be there. We're going to delete that, then we're going to do that, and we're going to do that, then we're going to delete that, then we're going to drag this up again, then we're going to break this, and then we're going to go to the product. Okay, and we'll hide that, and we're not going to do anything else, right? And while we're at it, we'll just set that to nothing. We'll save that. and that is our exists, right? So if we go back to our event graph, okay, and return real-time data, well, actually we've done that one, so it's a return minute data, isn't it? Right, so in here for each of these, right, we're going to say exists in count array. Okay, and we're going to be passing in the product. Alright, so let's see what we're doing here. And give me just a second, guys, I'll be back in a moment. Okay guys, sorry about that, we're back. Hopefully this hasn't broken my train of thought here. So as we go, we do this. Well, actually, we don't. We do this one first. If it isn't settings, we don't actually need to do anything regarding this for the moment. Okay? But we do need to come in here if it's true. Okay? And we do also need to know that. Right? So first things first, we'll drag it to here. Right, and this is getting a bit nippy now, the logic, but we'll carry on, see where we go with this. Right. So if it's less than 61, right, we need to have a serious think about this. Right, okay. Okay, we'll just do the ones for less than 61 first. Okay. And oh, I think we're going to need, I think what we're going to need is if there's a timestamp for this. Right. Interesting. Right, I'll tell you what, we'll forget this for now, okay? We'll just forget that. And we'll just join everything together first. We won't worry about whether or not these are the right thing or not, right? So if it already exists, okay, we get count array and we get a copy, okay, and we get a copy of this index, and then we set members, right, and then we set array element, okay, and then we'll pad this out in a minute. So okay, we're all good. Okay, so this is going to go into here. And we're going to drag this down. And we're going to remove that. Okay, we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to drag this down. Okay, so we do that, and the only thing we're going to do with this is the quantity. Okay. And we're going to break this. And then we're going to say this quantity plus whatever this quantity is. Okay? And then that is going to go in there. And then this goes in here. Okay. So we'll sort that out. Now, if this is false, we're going to get this, and we're going to add one. We're going to add, and it's basically this, right? Okay. And that should give us all of our values. Now we still need to split it between the first minute and the second minute, right? But we get the first minute working first, and then we're going to be happy. And in fact, what we could do is we could actually say first minute, or let me put that another way. Min 1, right? And then what we could do is we could do this in a sequence, right? So we can actually do this, and we could move this along a bit. So if we pass all of that stuff, right, and everything is true, but it's minute 1, then we add it to basically minute 1. Okay? And what we can do is we can put a sequence in here. Okay. And then we can basically duplicate this and call it minute 2. Okay. And then what we can do is we can duplicate this okay, and we can pop it in here. And the only thing that changes is we use this one. Right, instead of minute 1. Okay. And we can drag this in. Then this goes in here. Then we delete that. And that's us. We're good. Okay. Now, we can actually do this as a big sequence here. Right, so the first thing we're doing is we're getting minute 1. Okay. And then the next thing we're doing is we're getting minute 2. So this should be greater than 60. Okay. And we can delete that. I don't envy you guys watching this, because it is a hard train of thought to follow, even in my head, and I'm doing it. So it must be really difficult to follow what I'm doing here. Right, but the point being that step 3 is going to be get that, and we're going to get our temp chart data, right? And we're going to append this okay, and then we're going to append this okay. And this is going to be step 2. Of course that's step 3 because we're starting with an index of 0, but anyway. Right. So we've got that, and now the next thing we need to do is we need to return the real-time data, and we kinda need to copy this except we don't, but we'll copy it anyway, and we go to minute data and we paste it, right? And this time we want minutes. Right? But our time in minutes I don't know what these time in minutes are going to be. I'm kind of thinking that they should be this. The time in minutes is going straight in there. Right? And that should actually do us for this. And this would be step 4. Okay. Now, this would be an absolute miracle if it works. Now, the one thing that we're going to have to do is when we come in here, okay, we're going to return relevant data, okay? And we're going to clear these as well before coming in here. Now we're probably going to rename these because these will be used in the same way for the hours, the days, etc, etc. Okay, so it would make sense if these have got a more generic name, like just time 1, time 2, or something similar. But anyway, we're going to try and run this, and that is going to be the cliffhanger I leave you on probably tonight, because time getting on, beer to be drunk, YouTube videos to be watched. I'm guessing you guys are the same on a Friday night or whatever, relaxing evening. Apparently I'm also going to get eaten alive by mosquitoes again, but them's the blows. And what we're going to do, because I'm thinking this is going to crash like a mofo, is that we're going to save everything and we're going to try it. Continue. And I am not 100% confident here, I can tell you that. I can tell you that for an absolute fact. That was an awful lot of calculations to do with no testing. But the problem is I can't really test it because the graphs do not like breakpoints, right? Okay, that is a good start. That is a good start. Now what we need to do is wait and see what we get if we hit the 1 minute button. And I'm expecting my computer to blow up, right? If I hit this button, right, go. Well, it went back to what it was. For some reason it keeps resetting, right? So you'll notice we're at our 1 minute 20 and we're at our thing here, that's fine, and then it's changing back, so our mode is being reset somehow. Okay, but at least we didn't crash. And on that happy moment, we shall call it for the night. So if you've enjoyed watching, hit the subscribe button. Check out the description for Discord. You can join me in my Discord, and check out Patreon. You can get your name in the credits in the game and on the buildings, and also check out my previous game on Steam. So thanks for joining, hope to see you again. I shall catch you tomorrow, 2 PM Central. Good night everyone, have a good lovely Friday evening.